Hi everyone, I just thought I'd touch base, see how you're all going, show you a couple of examples of things coming up. This is not a long recording. In A3, you're asked to do the staging contingency or step by step. Certainly A3 has, what I want to talk about just now is your story and how you lead yourself through this presentation, the cohesion of it. So you still need to kind of come at it from that big scale and that multi-scale, multi-time. So choose one of your current plans and ask yourself what's most implementable. So your current plan for today needs to be staged in a minimum of 3 stages over 3 years or conditions. So it's almost like immediately in the next 6 months, the next year, the next year. So how do you step us through that clearly in your presentation? I don't have the exact like-for-like example in today's examples I'll show you, but I just want to talk through how you might like to think about that. I think you still need to take us from the big scale and the longer time frame into the next, and then bring us back into the 3 years. Do a clearer and more developed stage compulsory acquisition plan. In talking about this with many students in the past week or so, you might almost like to think of that as a planned retreat or managed retreat. So, that's really what we're setting up here, is a way for council to think about it. These are steps you could take. This house, then that house. Maybe the next house for sale on the street, the council needs to start thinking about. And that may stretch out for 200 years. So how do you show that? You may need a whole sequence of images. Number 3, rework your future plans and detail into what elements will need to be removed or become redundant or be adapted or transformed. Make sure you use a measurement and an approximate time. And the use of a carbon calculator within one of these future plans. So hopefully you have looked at the Pamela Conrad lecture that's within resources. You're also asked to do the planting plan, general arrangements and levels plan, and furniture elaborations, as well as the 3Ds. Some images, I just grabbed an image from Julian Raxworthy's The Mesh book. And the one I'm going to show you is work done by this crew of people. Where is it? And it's, this idea of showing the planting plan. It may be a plan that's also got a sense of a matrix about it or near it. I see some people sometimes do them in seasons. This one has been done in depths, which I thought is so very, very relevant, as well as water types. So salt water type, mixed water type, and sweet. But you're mostly working with salt and mixed, but this idea of working with depths, I thought, is very well considered there. Planting plan, here's a Robert Bell Marx was such a great plants person, but where his planting plans were always like mini artworks. And they're of their time, but without any of the measured element that we are asking you to consider. While we're here, I just wanted to show you a few of Sam Lockwood's images from a couple of years ago in 4th year. But this kind of detail, as far as the detail and how his combination on a page was usually very, very good, where we get a sense of the site in that bottom right. We get this lovely section, 3D section. We get the detail drawing section, and we get a plan telling us exactly where this section is. So there's a lot of information very nicely compiled on the one page there. And I think we can learn from that. Now, a similar thing happens here where we get a 3D sense of the site. We get the plan up in the top right. We get a section happening down on the bottom. His sense of font size is very good. It's small, things are lined up. The line weight of the imaging is very good. Again, here we get a sense of the site and the material quality about it. Here's a planting plan It doesn't go into detail on numbers, so it's not as detailed as what we're asking you to do. But again, things like lining up, your alignment of text over to one side, a beautiful light line weight on his guidelines there, giving that with one small image down in the bottom right, giving us a sense of the texture, and that tiny little plan in the bottom left, telling us where we are. So we're very well located, and there's a scale on it, and there's a north on it, and his title is down the bottom. There's a lot of very nice things, even in his titling on the page there, that deconstructed wharf area. It's got a sense of he's doing the work for us. He's helping us understand the site. That detail comes immediately after this planting plan, where things have got a little title, Cove 1, Headland, and Cove 2. And then he's gone into Cove 1. That may be a nice sequence for many of you. Here's my broader layout plan, and I'm going to do a planting plan of this area, and just tell us where the area is. It may be, and go into detail about it. Here's an arrangement plan, also of Sam's. I've just got a few of his there now, but it's clear, mostly black and white. The colouring he's using isn't overtaking us visually. It's very pale. That's his sense of graphics on the page is light and very, very lovely. Just to look at Sam's again, I always think they're a lovely suite of drawings, what he's stepping us through. But little things like having that little plan down the bottom left, fantastic, fantastic. Chloe, who this was within a lecture a few weeks ago, and I just thought I'd pull up one of her, Chloe Walsh. I'd pull up it's a version of a planting plan. And what's interesting to me here is, that she, again, her alignment of text around it, it's a very neat sort of grid is what she's given us. There's different types of plantings happening. The negative white image of the tree, we get a sense of people working and doing maintenance on this planting plan. It's called mowing intermittently. There's a lot of information coming into that. Now, I think there's some ideas that you could potentially pull into your planting plans. Again, we get a section, and we get a sense of the textures of the grasslands, like a sort of strip. But again, it's what makes these drawings work so well on the page and be legible is this small text and the alignment of it. It doesn't take over. The image is what's there, and the colours don't take over. It's very, very muted. This pull out of sort of a typology down the bottom, that may be something that you could be considering for even in your planting plan. This is Chloe's section that came out of her planting, where a lot of information about the exact species of grass was given. These were beautiful, beautiful drawings, of course. And there's a planting plan. But again, even this use of colour on that planting plan, I know it's got an overlay over it, where it's just a black and white plan of the urban pattern around it, and the colour intensifies as we come into the middle. And there's some sense of her ideas are still within the plan. There's grass seeds blowing. We get a section underneath it. It's a lovely, lovely composition. These are Jennifer Wu's from last year, and she did what can only be described as an incredible presentation. It was way too long, but it was incredibly thorough, and I think it's worth looking at some of her images. So here it's a section, of course, not a planting plan, but she has a lovely sense of the text. She has a lovely sense of using black and white and grey tones and pulling red out just for small things. Just note up on the top of this, in the top left-hand corner, she's got the S up there. I think she had an insane amount of images, something like 160. but almost on every one of them, she had in red this little S. Do we get it here? Or an XS. So all the time we knew what scale we were in as she moved us through her drawings. And that could be a very nice technique for people to use also in this project of multiple scale. Like I'm going to this scale, it's extra large. What happens here? There's a large scale on Jennifer's drawings. We get a subsurface in the section there. It's a version of, the slithering in and out of different soil types. This is up in Newcastle, but the different hatchings are fabulous. But this large scale, extra small scale, all the time her labeling kept a very cohesive presentation. We don't get it on that one. We get the phase 1 going upstream. Large, so there she's got the red L over in the top right corner with her site there. And there she goes right out. It's like this would almost be a great plan for you to show before you come in and show a planting plan. That, your site is part of a much greater waterway system. And I know many of you have done this already in assignment 1 and assignment 2, but this is just a suggestion of how to bring this in quickly into assignment 3, where you then step into detail, where you might just go extra large scale, extra small scale, or step us through just one slide, one image at a time. And Jennifer was very good at that, actually. And that's why there were so many images. We just had so many images. She almost had an image every few seconds. It was very quick. These I was grabbing for just randomly. I was talking about phytoremediation, but this is really the sort of thing that might accompany a planting plan, a sense of the colours and textures of the plants and their functional use to work against phytoremediation, or to phytoremediate, I suppose. This is one of Topotech's plans, and I just grabbed it off the internet. But again, this kind of black and white surrounds, all the focus comes into their plants on the plan. So being very strategic and considered about what you choose to bring out in your plans, I think can make for a very good, effective plan. I grabbed this from somewhere. It's a section I know. Oh, this idea, particularly again in conjunction with planting plans, it may be that you do something seasonal, or what would be very relevant would be something like wet and dry. This is what it starts to look like. This is sort of the color of the plants or the grasses I'm using, or the flowering, like what you pull out. I mean, it's interesting doing a planting plan for an inundation landscape. And I think there's probably something to be done that's a combination of this one and that one that was way back there at the beginning, that was about that grid. Where did it? Where was it? Showing depths. So somehow having the ability to talk about your planting choices in regards to the systems that you're thinking about, which in most cases is the depth of water. I think that's all I've got simply there. Whose drawings have I got here? Oh, this is Jennifer's. Now, we're not going to go through it and I'll get off, but just to give you a sense how she began her project. Plain, easy font to read, poetic title, her name, her student number. I mean, that would be the sort of opening page that could potentially have your 3 communities. It could potentially have a site image or a small site image. Jennifer's presentation was very pulled, sort of pared back. I'm not going to stop at a lot of this, but this was a content page. She stepped us through her presentation. It was very clear from the get-go, site analysis and context. And there, on that far right, top right corner, we have that XXXL, that she was always talking us through scales. That's how she was thinking. XXXL again, XXXL again, XXXL, XXL, and very considered information on each page. XL, XL. So really, I'm just going to if we just fly through this a little bit, then we move to medium scale, small scale, small scale. But this may be something, a technique you could step into at the beginning of your presentation. You must step us from the big pictures you've been working on in assignment 1, assignment 2, down to that detail, and just quite efficiently, quite rapidly. Jennifer did this photo sequence, which can also be very successful. I've seen this done in various presentations. Funny, even when I look at it now, it's almost not as effective as I want it to be. Maybe she needed to pull out on each image in a slight colour the level of development happening in each photograph, because it's so subtle. You can see from the top left image down to the bottom right that there is sort of development change, and without her here, I can't remember the detail, but anyway, it was a very beautiful, almost, I guess I'd call it a forensic way to present this, pulling small pieces of information. I mean, look at that. That's a whole page. Incredible. But you know, there was her question, an objective, UN phasing. Your presentation, it has not been asked for assignment 3 to be anywhere like this. The thing I want you to take away while I'm showing this to you is her sense of strategic black and white and strategic color, usually red, and very, very consistent fonts all the time. Very consistent fonts, simple, really simple. It's not over complex. All the time, you're just stepping through these ideas as she builds and builds and builds up. I think I'm going to leave you with that. I will write an announcement, but what I will say in it is to remember to do the My Experience survey within the Moodle. And I will leave it at that for now. But while I'm here, I'm just still showing you a few of Jennifer's, because they were entrancing at the time. I mean, just even that, like that black and whiting background, that foregrounding her intervention in colour, that small scale, you know, there's hardly any text. Utilize existing rooftop, just the key piece of information. Gosh, you know, it's just a really strategic thinker. And she was testing all sorts of things out. You know, it was an amazing kind of project in how rigorous she was with all her ideas, and she drew everything up. But all the time, it had this sort of particular feel and style of it. Scale down the bottom. Again, we've got this bottom right, and again, top left, we've got this scale L, our little friend, always telling us there, and her use of red, just showing us what's going to happen next. And then she comes into detail, I suspect. And there we are, we follow it through. So a lovely, lovely sequence, stepping through scale. And then from there, we step into that edge, and there, extra small scale, there it is. Super. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. Have a good weekend.